take out Joe Flacco, and put back in Anthony Richardson. Suddenly, the odds makers gave the Miami Fencers' responses a puncher's chance at staying in this game, and with the Dolphins up 10-3 at halftime, they had clearly survived 2 entire rounds. But after giving up a touchdown in the third quarter, not scoring anything the entire second half, that knockout blow finally landed. How many references to Tua getting knocked the fuck out can I possibly put in this opening? Concussion.
Hey guys, it's me. I don't know if you can hear me well or not. I'm broadcasting from inside of a sewer drain. There's fucking crocodiles and shit everywhere, so I'm trying to keep it down. Listen, I like safe living conditions. I'd like to get out of this place. That's where you come in. Like, comment, subscribe, share this shit around, cause I don't wanna fucking die in a fucking sewer. I got so many fucking open wounds, and every fucking splash brings with it the promise of the Black Death. So help this motherfucking channel grow, so I can make some money.
You know, some people in the world are really, really smart when it comes to being really, really fucking stupid. And if that doesn't make any fucking sense, well, neither does benching Joe Flacco after you jump-started your offense when Anthony Richardson went down. Once this decision was made, the only thing offensive about the Indianapolis Colts offense is how fucking offensive it was to anybody who actually likes modern offensive football. As Anthony Richardson couldn't even complete 10 passes in the entire fucking game, but almost like patting a kid on the head for finally managing to kick a soccer ball after 8 attempts, when Richardson managed to hit Alec Pierce deep for 2 touchdowns. Everybody gave this guy a lollipop, pat on the head, said, "Good job, kiddo." Well, wonders never cease. Catching a team with his pants down on defense is now a sustainable method for having good NFL offense. And so against the Bears and the Packers, an Anthony Richardson-led offense proceeded to pull off the NFL offense equivalent of a 9/11 reenactment on the way to eating 2 depressing losses. Going up against a Pittsburgh Steelers team that was eating offenses alive, the Colts actually managed to put up a bunch of points. Well, how the hell did... Oh, that's right. Anthony Richardson got hurt, and Joe Flacco went in. The future looked bright for those of us who thought that Anthony Richardson was the most overhyped, overdrafted quarterback in the history of football. What followed were a couple weeks of actual competent offensive football in Indianapolis. They barely lost to a Jacksonville Jaguars team 37-34, so clearly the problem was not offense. Then they went up against a good defense in Tennessee, and thanks to yet another A-plus failure effort from Will Levis, Joe Flacco's efficient 2-touchdown, 1-interception performance got them yet another win. At this point, your team is at a crossroads. Do you stick with the wily veteran, the NFLOL's comeback player of the year last season, a guy who got a team into the playoffs when they were left dead in the water, thanks to the hands-on manipulation of Deshaun? No, it's just a suggestion that I won't adhere to, Watson. Well, for some reason, the teams that are smart enough to bring Flacco in, just in case they need to revitalize their season, are also too fucking stupid to stick with him when it's obvious that he's the better option than what they're starting with. Perhaps the thinking is, alright, look, we know this kid plays about as clean as 2-week-old dog water, but goddamn the Miami Dolphins are fucking terrible. So let's put him back in as starter. That'll shut Jim Irsay's drunken ramblings up for another fucking week as he refuses to admit that he completely fucking botched that pick. We'll see if we could pull a rabbit out of a hat, and Richardson's shit performance will give us more fuel for the fire when we try to tell Irsay we gotta bench this fucking kid to save our franchise. Other than that, how the fuck can you explain this decision at this point? Like, yeah, sure, the Colts narrowly avoided disaster by beating the Dolphins with some last-second offense, just as Jim Irsay narrowly managed to avoid crashing into a light pole the last time he got drunk and drove, probably last night. But can both his team and he himself continue to narrowly avoid disaster? Well, based on the fact that a narrow victory feels like a complete and total defeat against one of the worst teams in the NFL for the last month, I'd say the answer is not very fucking likely. How about Isaiah Likely? Everybody remember him? Went off for like 2 touchdowns in week 1. Everybody scrambled to get him on their fantasy team. Wondered if this was truly the end for Mark Andrews' reign of tight end domination over there in Baltimore. Well, we got a reminder that it is not likely that Todd Bowles is a good NFL coach. A man whose sole job is supposed to be defense, and his team gets absolutely fucking obliterated by anybody with a competent offense, so long as they have an offensive line that can block. You know, I give Lamar Jackson a lot of shit, but it's solely based on his playoff performances, because the guy goes completely fucking brain dead when it comes to remembering how he got to the dance in the first fucking place, and all of a sudden his legs become about as useful as a quadriplegic's in a 5-mile marathon. But at least in the regular season, the guys continue to play at an MVP level for multiple seasons, And based on all accounts, he's driven to correct the mistakes of the past. I believe it when I see it, but being able to throw for 5 fucking touchdowns sure as shit don't hurt. And Derek the King Henry going off for another 170 yards. Yards that should have been reserved for Dallas if not for Jerry Jones being a complete fucking moron. Well, those yards are all in service of not only making Baltimore look great, but making Jerry Jones look like a fucking idiot. And I'm down for that every week. Tampa, just by virtue of being in the runner-up clown car division in the NFLOL, probably going to get a home playoff game this season, but don't get shit twisted. This is a team with a lot of holes. They're going to get wedged open by the fact that their coaching is by a man named Bowles. They got lucky that they went up against the Commanders in week 1 before they could really find their stride. And then kudos to them for catching a Lions team sleeping. But whether you're talking about a Broncos team that had essentially no fucking offense, a Saints team that has more players on IR than they do on the fucking field, or a Falcons team that beat them and just so happens to be the only stiff competition they have in their division, I think it's pretty clear that Todd Bowles' team has dimmer days ahead. Aye, Captain Bowles, steer straight ahead into that iceberg and sink the Tampa Bay Titanic. Speaking of icebergs and absolute fucking disasters, imagine letting the best player on your entire fucking offense walk over $13 million. No, I don't mean a discrepancy of $13 million. I mean, you won't even pay him $13 million flat out. Well, that is exactly what happened with the New York Giants. In a time where the best offensive skill player on a team can make up to $40 million if your name is Justin Jefferson, or well over 30 if you're a high level but not necessarily elite talent like Brandon Ayuk. All you need is about 1/3 of that to pay off Saquon-Barkley, the engine of your offense. But no. People on Twitter have decided that you can't pay a running back that much. Therefore, you should apply absolutely no common sense or context to your situation. Horribly overpay Brian Dable's Make-A-Wish Kid quarterback project, and then try to stupidly justify letting the heart of your team walk out the door. Giants fans are totally over it, by the way. Never mind the fact that their boos had a slight quiver in them as the bottom lips of grown men shook violently, a sign of their continued inability to admit just how sad they are that they lost their man. It's okay, Giants fans, you get to see him twice a year, and Saquon-Barkley gets to feel right at home because he owns your team, whether he's a part of it or not, and his 17 carries for 176 yards and a touchdown. Well, boy, if that ain't the best 176 yards that $13 million can buy. I'm sure the Giants will spend their savings wisely. Hey, is Golden Tate up for free agency again next year? How about Kenny Golladay? Yeah, I'm sure you guys will use that money, Will. For one more week, Nick Sirianni gets to look at a cardboard cutout image of himself, slowly rub his nipples, and assure himself that he's a super smart, really handsome, great NFL coach. Also, this week's milk carton player is Devontae Smith. I mean, would this guy get hurt or something? I don't know, I don't give enough of a shit to check. But whether he's hurt or not, this guy disappears more often than Houdini in a house of mirrors. Kid's got a lot of talent, but man, if A.J. Brown drops off, he sure as shit cannot carry an offense. At some point, pretty soon, if you're the Eagles, you better look at bringing in another good wide receiver to go opposite of him. They tried it with Jahan Dotson, but is anybody really surprised that after an in-division trade, Dotson proved to be absolutely fucking useless? Only the New York Giants are stupid enough to let a player go where he can sign with a division rival, if that player is actually still good. I definitely did not lose $600 because of a parlay that I had that included CJ Stroud getting a bunch of yards, and I definitely was not bitterly screaming at the television when the Texans stupidly failed to get points because they kept running the fucking ball the entire fucking game despite being down a touchdown, only to have the Packers pull a last-minute drive, kick a field goal, take the lead, and win in the last seconds of regulation. I definitely did not cut the head off of a chicken, spray blood all over CJ Stroud's front lawn, put an ancient curse on his family, put an ancient curse on the inhabitants of the home, and then realize I was outside of a fucking Denny's when the cops found me with my pants down around my ankles, drunk off my ass. Thus is the life of a degenerate gambler, folks. Many people have asked me why I don't just stop. And that's because those people are pussies who don't understand. I'm not a fucking quitter. just as the Cleveland Browns could not quit Deshaun Predatory Pride Watson. Well, the Bengals took the decision out of their hands. That's right, Deshaun Watson, just like how he broke people's dignity and self-respect with his hands-on approach to being a massage client, the Cincinnati Bengals finally did something right and decided to let him know what Joe Burrow's knee feels like, or in this case his leg, since his Achilles snapped, just like me snapping in front of a Denny's with a headless chicken. Why do bad things happen to good people? I don't fucking know, but boy do we all celebrate and laugh when bad things happen to giant pieces of shit. In other news, the Denver Broncos dominated the New Orleans Saints. I mean, that 33-10 beating surely is evidence that the Denver Broncos are totally good, and it's not the result of the fact that the Saints thought The Walking Dead was a team-building philosophy. The Titans switched over to Mason Rudolph, but his nose couldn't guide them through an absolute hailstorm of death, courtesy of the Buffalo Bills. The Tennessee Titans might be this year's version of a great defense that starts to slowly collapse as morale erodes under the vicious onslaught of their own offense's perpetual ineptitude. Because Josh Allen's been struggling for weeks, to the point where you would have thought that maybe the Titans could have a puncher's chance in this one, but no, it was not to be. A 323-yard, 2-touchdown performance, an absolute get-right game for Josh Allen, has Buffalo back in the win column, solidly in possession of first place. And you can't think AFC East and first place without thinking of the New York Jets. After all, everybody, don't forget, we were reminded constantly about how if they just beat the Buffalo Bills, they'd be in first place. So don't worry, guys, you're just panicking about the Jets. They're totally gonna be As I lead looking now, 15-6 up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They got dominated 37-15 after that. Ah, man, it must be because they lost Robert Saleh, because their defense looks so much worse without him. Never mind the fact that they got their fucking doors blown off by San Francisco with Robert Saleh. Never mind that last season they got their doors fucking blown off in multiple games, and that Robert Saleh had more double-digit losses in his fucking head coach career than he did wins. No, folks. Keep grasping at those straws. The Jets are horribly coached, even more poorly managed organization. They've been that way for almost a decade and a half. And they have to pray that the rest of their schedule, a schedule that is mid at best, will help them collect a bunch of W's that they really don't deserve on their way to what I'm sure will be a last-second choke job where they fail to make the playoffs due to the fact that they lost every fucking major tiebreaker that they possibly could have gotten in these first 7 weeks. Pittsburgh fans, get ready for the come down from Russell Wilson. That 15-6 deficit that you guys were struggling with at the end of the first half, yeah, that's not going to be the exception. That's going to be the rule. The Atlanta Falcons actually managed to get a lead on their season, so naturally the Falcons did what they do with a lead. Choked the shit out of it, going up against a mid-Seattle Seahawks team that had been struggling mightily, even against basement dwellers like the New York Giants. Yet they came out, threw the ball all over the Falcons, limited their offense, reminded the world that Atlanta's not allowed to have anything nice, unless you consider a devastating hurricane a gift from the gods, and left those birds broken and battered lying on the floor. You know goddamn well I'm not going to mention a broken, battered team without mentioning the most broken, battered organization in all of football right now. That's right, the Carolina Panthers. Andy Dalton is supposed to be better than Bryce Young. And I mean, sure, all season long, he absolutely has been. But my God, in this game, against a Commanders team that thinks defense is a bunch of wood arranged around your backyard, Andy Dalton couldn't even break 100 yards. Imagine being Deontay Johnson at this point. Your stupid ass talked your way out of Pittsburgh, and your reward is the NFL's version of the 7th layer of hell. This performance was so bad that Bryce Young came back into the game, and to his credit, he actually completed 100% of his passes. So is this the Bryce Young career revival arc that we've all been waiting for? Fuck no, he threw for -4 yards on 2 passes. Carolina can't have nice things, not as long as their owner's a giant walking chode. Sorry, Chuba Hubbard. That's right, Chuba. You don't give a kid a name like that and expect me to call him Chuba, do you? Or you could Chuba your ass on out of here. Just as the Carolina Panthers Chuba their way to another first overall pick in the draft. And if you think that doesn't make any fucking sense, well, do the Carolina Panthers really deserve better? Hey, does anybody know if Robert Saleh got a job with the San Francisco 49ers? Because all of a sudden, they can't play offense for shit, and their defense is getting rolled over like the Pillsbury Doughboy in a bakery. Somebody needs to tell Kyle Shanahan, you're supposed to wait until the Super Bowl to choke your season away. How the fuck do you hold Patrick Mahomes to 2 interceptions and 0 touchdowns, but still get obliterated like this? Well, it was a 12-14 game in the third quarter, closer, so with a chance to take the lead and win the game. I guess we could call this another patented San Francisco 49ers choke against the Kansas City Chiefs, who have learned one thing from this game, and it's not that they could do whatever they want with the San Francisco 49ers corpse. They already knew that. It's that goddamn they desperately need to get a wide receiver in here, because Mahomes might be God incarnate when it comes to pulling wins out of his ass. But you gotta give the kid some kind of fucking help. Well, that's all for this week, folks. Sorry if I forgot to talk about a team like the Raiders losing to the Rams. I tend to be forgetful about some things, just like Antonio Pierce forgetting to feed his fucking dogs that one time. Oh yeah, special congratulations for the Detroit Lions. They tried their damnedest to light that game on fire and piss it away with one of the stupidest fake punt calls I think I've ever seen in my life. It was literally the opening drive. They were on their own 30-yard line, and it was 4th and 7. And not only did they try an ill-advised fake punt, but they gave away that they were doing it by having a guy motion before the ball was even fucking snapped. That led to an easy 7 points for Minnesota. And when you look at a late fumble return that ended up being a touchdown for Minnesota, and you look at this 2-point barely there victory, you might think it was this really close game. But I gotta tell you, for almost the entire thing, the Detroit Lions did whatever the fuck they wanted in Minnesota. Being able to pull out a victory in a game like this where you did everything you could to throw it away, that speaks very highly for the Lions' chances of coming out of the NFC by the end of the season. And if you're the Vikings, sure, you're not the Indianapolis Colts, but that horseshoe you've had jammed up your ass, I think it might have just fallen out. Next week might have one of the single greatest NFLOL loss moments in the history of the NFLOL, as the New York Jets with Devontae Adams and that high-powered offense look to go against a brutally awful New England Patriots team, a Patriots team that already got demolished by the Jets earlier this season. The Jets are a 7-point favorite, and I'm gonna hammer that fucking spread. It's time to make up that $600 I lost on CJ Stroud. I mean, they can't possibly lose to the New England Patriots, can they? Can they?